So at the end of day three, the third test between India and Australia. So I think today I just wanted to share an idea that I've always loved test cricket for, and the key word here is fight. And by that, I mean not scoring a runnable 100, but this fight is more of a fight against your own inner demons. And the reason why I bring that up is India is on the brink of another potential collapse. And if there is a collapse, if India follows on, there's a good chance that we could lose by an innings if we are not careful. Anyway, that's out of the way. I wanted to talk about why it is so important to show fight in this test match, even though you're down. That is what is a sign of a strong test team. Yes, you have moments when you are down, but then you always fight. Win or lose doesn't it matters. What is even more important is how you fight back in difficult situations. When your team is down, who are those players who put their hands up and say they will take blows on their body, right? And this modern day uh, batters, I think the keywords are like intent, play on natural game. But sometimes some of the best knocks that we remember are the ones where actually the player curbed their natural game and played the situation. So it could be taking blows. So if you remember Cheteshwar Pujara in the last tour to Australia, a lot of people remember the innings of Rishabh Pant and Shubman Gill and other players. But it was Cheteshwar Pujara who took those blows and who batted hours and hours and tired the Australian bowlers so that the likes of Rishabh Pant could actually come in and score those runs lower down the order when it really mattered. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I think it's important to respect this facet of the game wherein some players have to have this role, especially the top order, one, two, three, at least one or two players have to bat in a way that takes the shine off the new ball. So that's just a thought that I had. The other innings that I can recall is when Tendulkar, this was way back in 2002. I think he was not doing well in Australia. He was getting out on the cover drive a lot, and it was the last Test match. He hadn't really scored runs, so he decided to just bat time and not go for his strokes, and he put away the cover drive because the Australians were targeting that sixth or seventh stump line, and he kept leaving the balls and he waited for them to bowl at him so he could get those runs on the onside, and thus he got back into form. This is something that maybe Kohli can look at. I think it's fairly obvious. Everybody's talking about it, but that's for him to really look at. But I think I'm more concerned about the new so-called superstars. I mean, the likes of Shubman Gill, the likes of Rishabh Pant. These players, they are in their prime right now, and they should be really contributing. And Rohit and Kohli are obviously not. I mean, they are expected to perform, but it is these, players that need to put their hand up and contribute when the chips are down, right? So that's the thought that I had for this test. Let's see how this batting order or the batting lineup fares in the first innings, hoping that they can eke out a draw. Oh yeah, this is the other thought which I wanted to talk about. I was just trying to recollect what that topic was, and now I remember. Yes. So I think there's a lot of talk these days that draws are boring, they reek of a defensive mindset. We want to see shots and all that. Yeah, that sounds great. But then in certain situations like this, you have to respect the situation or the conditions. At the Gabba currently, where the ball is still new and moving around and the conditions are challenging to bat, as a batter, you have to apply yourself and wait for those overs when the ball gets soft to start playing your strokes. We saw how Australia batted. I think in the first 40 overs, their run rate was, I think, around 3 or maybe just a shade under 3. And it was in the next, what, 30 or 60 overs after the 40 over mark where they really cashed in and they scored big. I think they scored over 5 runs in over, or maybe sometimes even close to 6. And they had an overall run rate of 4. So what really matters is how you pace your innings. So if this was, let's say, in India, approach could be different. And that is my problem with the current approach seen though so far by the Indian team in this match and also in the match at Adelaide. I think we need to go back to Perth and take look at how KL Rahul has applied himself. He's really, really uh, focused on leaving the ball well, playing close to the body, not going for extravagant shots. So yes, so I think even if India were to get a draw here, that would mean two things. A, it would give confidence to the batters because obviously then, I mean, I'm assuming that it is not that both the remaining days get washed out. There is sufficient play, and then so somebody would have had to bat well. So India would take some confidence out of that. And the other thing, and more importantly, so we would put more overs into the legs of the Australian bowlers. We need to tire them out. If you look at their bowlers in Adelaide, they hardly got to bowl the third or fourth spells. I mean, we got bowled out within 40 overs in both the innings. So we really need to get them into the fourth and the fifth and the sixth spells like we saw in Perth, and that's where the batters need to cash in. I think an important metric to look at is the number of balls or the number of minutes that the batter bats. If you remember, this is going back to the 90s when I started following cricket. At that point in time, more than the balls, I think we used to also measure how many minutes each batter used to bat, right? So I think that is important. Players need to, so even if you look at Australia, Nathan McSweeney, although I think he made 5 or 9 runs, but he batted close to 50 balls. So if every batter must, at least in the top 4 or 5, must bat 40 to 50 balls at the very least when the ball is new. And I'm not saying that you don't put away the bad balls, but I think being very clear in what your game plan is. I think you cannot be in two minds. You need to be very clear what you wish to do. So I think that is the key from my perspective. Let me know what you think. Let's hope that India can fight back here.